Mixing with Mike plugin of the week comes from Pulsar Modular. It's the P821 MDN tape. MDN stands for Mark Daniel Nelson. He is the owner of a tape machine that was emulated by Pulse Modular. It is a 24-track Stevenson machine, not as widely known as some of the other household names like Ampex and 3M and the like that were very popular at the time. But this tape machine built in the early 70s, or the company started in the early 70s, was a 24-track tape, or this was a 24-track tape machine. He had up to a 40-track tape machine, and the concept of his design was to really simplify the electronics as much as possible to create a purist kind of version of a tape machine. Apparently, he played around a lot with MCI tape machines to start off with, tweaking them and all of that, and then came up with his own design. Many of the designs of tape machines use pinch rollers and the like, and a capstan motor to sort of drive the tape. He did something that was purely driven by the motors in terms of tape speed, and he had a way of calibrating it that made it very accurate. Now, if you're not familiar with tape machines, that may not mean a lot, but it does decrease the wear and tear on tape. Built apparently a very good sounding tape machine to the point where there are 3 classic albums that are listed here, all-time classics that use this tape machine: Pink Floyd's The Wall, Steely Dan Asia, and Fleetwood Mac Rumors. 3 pretty decent records, I would say. Did pretty well, I would think. So what we have here, just on its simple, in its most simple form, what we have, there's a couple of extra displays just so you show you. So if you want to see like the reels spinning and all of that, you could do all of that. And all these buttons on the top here are actually functional. I'm not going to work from that. I'm going to work from the simpler display here. Essentially, we can work or bypass the tape machine other than some of the electronics here by going here. There's a hard bypass of everything up in the top right here. And so, we can kind of get a couple of different options about running the tape machine. Here we basically set the tape recording level, right? So with the input level and output level, they're linked together. You can unlink them if you choose. So that will drive the amount of tape saturation. 2 formulas were used. The 900 formula, I'm not sure, I'm assuming it's a BASF 900, later made by RTM. I think that's the company that currently makes it. Not sure if it's the exact same formulation. 456 made by Ampex. So this is more of a high-level tape. This was sort of a medium-level tape, usually like calibrated to +5 or +6. Or if you're using noise reduction +3, that's a whole other story. 2 tape speeds, 15 and 30 inches per second. This will change the frequency response, right? So you get a more extended high-end frequency response and generally more balanced low-end from 30 inches per second. But electronics can play a lot with that. Some tape machines get a bump on the low end. 15 will give you more extended low end, and the frequency will start to cap off like around 15K, where it will start to roll off. And I won't get into the whole head gap and explanation for the technical reasons for that, but more or less, this will give you kind of like a more focused, thicker sound. This will give you a cleaner, more transparent sound. Just generally, there are better descriptions for all of this in the manual for it. But that's the general take. Now, what he has here is a couple of things. Because the electronics were so simplified, these are things that are added in. A high and low shelf. So this is actually a high fixed frequency, high and low shelf. The frequencies are not listed in the manual, not that I could see. You could apply it prior to the tape, so it would go in, and that would affect the saturation of the tape at the different frequencies, or you could put it post. Actually sounds very smooth and nice. So whatever was done here by Pulse Modular is right on. The bias current is one of the most critical things to making a tape machine sound good. Bias current is a high-frequency signal, way above our hearing range, that is applied to the signal at a high level. And the idea is to saturate the tape to basically get the little magnetic oxide particles, the microscopic ones, sort of moving or fluctuating so that when you apply the audio signal you can hear, it sticks. right? So it's basically an unsticking agent. If you overbias too much, then you'll oversaturate the tape, lose high frequency response. If you underbias, you will get too much high frequency response and a lot of distortion. So what this does is we've added in this feature here where you can actually affect the bias for the low and the high frequency separately. And so this allows you to shape the sound of the tape. This will give you, and think of it more like a saturation type of thing, less or more for low frequencies and high frequencies. So it gives you more control, whereas a typical bias current would, usually be like 10K, maybe a bit different for every machine. But you would have just calibrated with that. It would just be a single knob. There wouldn't be a separate bias for the high and low end. Now, there's also a modulation section that's added in here. Oh, there's actually, a lo-fi thing here, which gives you high-pass, low-pass filter. And this will move those high-pass, low-pass filters around the frequency range of your choosing by adjusting here. You can get a tape flange here. You can add wow and flutter if you choose, right? So that can be added in. Now, this was the default setting here. So it's giving you probably the wow and flutter that's natural to the tape machine. You could turn this modulation section off. So when it's highlighted in red, it will be off. If it's green, then it's on. If it's yellow, it's basically there's nothing happening. But if I turn this off, then this will go between red and green, right? So that's the basics there. You could double click it to reset it. And on here, we also have a tape delay. So high pass, low pass filter for the tape delay. Again, we can put it on. Now, there are delay times for the three different tape speeds. This only has 2, but it will give you delay times. They'll be longer for 7.5, shorter for 30. That's basically the way that works, because it's the difference in space between the record head and the playback head. The tape will pass from the record head in the direction of the playback head. How long it takes to get there will be determined by the tape speed, and then you can offset that to sort of, tap in the timing of it. And then there's a little feedback that you can add in as well. All right, that's the basics of it. Let's hear a little bit of sound. We'll just start with some drums here, and then maybe add a few other instruments just to get a sense of what this can do. So let's just start by going through the tape speeds and the formula. Maybe I'll drive it a little bit just to kind of make it so that you can hear it a little bit better. I got some backgrounds in there. Right, so you can hear kind of the openness of the top end, the fullness of the 15 inches per second, and the tonal character that you get. So just those 4 options, or just the options that you would get with the different combinations, already gives you like a good textural, tonal character. So let's say I wanted to start with this, but I wanted to drive a little bit more saturation into the low end. I could do that over here with the bias control. Right, so to get back some of the thump of the kick drum in there, and then I can play around with the high frequency as well. Right, so just that alone allows you to really shape the tone in a really cool way, and it's just really super clear and open, just like a fantastic tape emulation. It's an extremely difficult thing to do. And I won't go on in a long soliloquy about why that is, but there's plenty to to make things difficult there. Just the inconsistency of the formulation as it's put on the tape alone would drive you mad. Then there's the high frequency, low frequency shelf. So let's start with it pre, because this will drive it into the tape just to get a sense for this. All right, so you can hear the difference pre and post, where one is kind of pushing into the saturation a bit. That's a bit different than the bias controls here. But what it does give you the great kind of ability to kind of take what you've set up as your general starting place here. Like, for example, if I like the feeling of 15 inches per second, but it's a little boomy, where I can kind of pull back on some of the low end, right? Not drive it as much. Right, and help to kind of balance that out. Now, if we want to kind of play around just very quickly with the lo-fi here, we can just adjust that. Right, so basically just high pass, low pass filters chasing each other. Flange. Right, so you got tape flange in there, got a little wow and flutter. Maybe comes across a little more subtly. Let's see if I can reset it to its default position there. And then we have tape delays, which we could add in here. This could be fun here. Now that just happened accidentally, that it just tied up, but you can also sweep the a happy accident, I would say. No pre-rehearsal on that. Fully didn't expect the timing to match up. It doesn't have like a sync thing that syncs to the tempo of the song, and I'll just show you how you can offset it here. All right, and then you get the high pass, low pass filter. So there's a lot to play with here. So let's just kind of quickly go through maybe and do a few things. This is actually quite a lot of fun. I'm actually really enjoying this emulation. Really, really great work. Pulsar Modular always does great work. You actually probably seen the API summing desk that is also part of Mark Daniel Nelson's collection. If you haven't checked that out as well, that's also amazing, and again, a great job by Pulsar Modular to make that sound fantastic. Let's just kind of quickly dial in, a basic vibe for the drums here. I'm going to go with a little bit of a brighter sound here. Just drive a little more saturation in there, and let's add in the bass.
Life ain't life without you.
Sorry, just going to mute these harmonies here for a second. Let's kind of dial this in with the vocal just to kind of get a flavor for what we can do with this.
Running fast, burning dust. Life ain't life without you. This midnight hour, time's a wasting. I'm racing back to be with you. Running fast, burning dust. Life ain't life without you. This midnight hour, time's a wasting. I'm racing back to be with you.
All right, let's see what that sounds like all connected.
Running fast, burning dust. Life ain't life without you. This midnight hour, time's a wasting. I'm racing back to be with you. To be with you.
A lot of very, very, very cool tonal control and just amazing smoothness, from the tape emulation, just the way the saturation is controlled, the detail around it, just the quick options in terms of tone shaping with the formula, inches per second, the amount of drive, being able to play with the high and low frequency bias and also the EQ. This is actually a very early on mix, and you can really see how this kind of glue things together, plus some creative tools with the tape delays and the lo-fi, some of the modulation. You can start to play around with that. The tape flange come in handy. You have a lot of tools here to play with. So there's and you could hide those lower settings if you're not using all of that stuff. If you like the tape display, it actually looks really cool. I don't know. This is 100% a winner. I'm a big fan of tape emulations, and so anytime somebody comes out with a tape emulation, I'm all over it. And this one's kind of blowing my mind. So really digging this one. This is moving right up to the top of the list for sure. Check it out. Plugin of the week, Pulsar Modular, the P821 MDN tape machine. That's Mark Daniel Nelson. Check out the website at Pulsar Modular and download a demo if you don't believe it. Take a look at it. Definitely worth at least a listen. Plugin of the week.